All right, welcome to today's video. So today I want to talk about how I declare. Okay, let's start that over. Today I want to talk about how I learned to declutter my house without feeling so overwhelmed. Now, I think that I have to go back about 15 years of my life, and it's always so good and so reflective to go back to a former point in your life where things were just chaotic and they weren't working. And maybe you tried some stuff, but you really needed a different perspective. And that was me about 15 years ago, just drowning in kid toys. I remember the Lincoln Logs were spread all over. I was stepping on Barbie toys, like mom of girls here. So we had all of the like little things that our toddlers and early childhood elementary age kids have, and then we brought a baby into it. So then I had a baby on top of the toddler toys, and it just became so much to manage. And I remember that season of life, just I cried a lot, not because of the toys, but because of how my surroundings, the things, the possessions that we owned made me feel. I felt like, on top of caring for three beautiful babies, that I was also responsible for keeping up our home. I was a stay-at-home mom, and keeping it clean and keeping it picked up, because gosh forbid if somebody just stops by unannounced, I would have to have at least that perception that I had it together, right? You moms of young kids, or maybe you remember when your kids were this age, and it was definitely that pressure that we put on ourselves, because how refreshing now I say it, but how refreshing it would be to just pop over to a friend's house and say hi and not care. Like, I really, if I'm going to come and see you, I'm coming to see you. I don't care what your house looks like. I don't care if there's breakfast still in in the sink. Like, I don't care. So I didn't, I was in this push and pull frustration of like, I don't care what their houses look like, but for some reason, I made this out to be this big old thing. And so today I want to talk about how I learned to escape that mentality and the way that I was thinking, and shift into um, no longer feeling overwhelmed about my home, about how clean it was or dirty it was or what I owned. And so I have three tips. I'm looking at my notes right here. So the first tip, that sun is so bright. I will take it. It's like cold winter months here. So when the sun comes out, it's a rare thing. But my first tip is I became aware of the things or the areas that bothered me. And I really remember this. Okay, just for a moment. I remember this and thinking, um, plastic bags. Okay, so you go to the grocery store, and I would bring home my groceries in plastic bags. And I would have, because I couldn't throw anything away, so I would have these plastic bags swimming everywhere, empty. Like, they had already been used, but I didn't want to throw them away. Our recycling didn't take them at the moment at that time, so we had to like I had to make a special trip to like recycle them. And so there was just plastic bags everywhere. And then I knew I had a problem when I had bins to hold those plastic bags, because I thought I was being organized. So what I did is I got an IKEA thing and I mounted that inside my garage. So right as I go into my house, there was this thing to hold plastic bags. That changed my life. It was so simple. I think it was like 99 cents at the time at IKEA to buy this plastic bag holder. Maybe you guys know what I'm talking about. It's really just a piece of plastic that you mount to your wall, but when you put your plastic bags in it, it holds them all together. And then when you need one, you just pull it out. That was life changing. A 99-cent hack that was so life changing. So that took care of like problem area number one that was driving me crazy. And I just became aware of more things in more areas around my house that seemed to be like a dumping ground. And then that took me to step number two, or tip number two, is I noticed my habits and the thinking behind why I did the things that I did. So, why were those plastic bags all over our house? Well, because I didn't have any place to put them. I didn't want to throw them in the trash, and I had already used them. And so that was kind of this thing that was just all over the place. And so um, I didn't want to get rid of them, or I wanted to recycle them. It's crazy to be thinking about this as like such a big pivotal moment in my life with plastic bags. But um, I just dropped them in random places. And so thinking also of like why I did the things that I did is I was chasing three little ones, and I was being a present mom, and I was reading books to them, and we were doing library story hour, and like all of these things, going for walks, having play dates with friends, that picking up plastic bags were not a priority to me. And so that's why that extra clutter and everything came into my house. But it wasn't just plastic bags. There were things around my home that was became habits, and then they became tolerable habits. And so maybe it was having 8 throw blankets on the couch, because when we have movies and nights, everybody wanted to be cuddled up together underneath the blanket. Okay, well, maybe you only need two, you don't need eight. And so it's like starting to just understand why we had so much, why I had allowed so much in, and then that line has to be drawn eventually. And so that leads me to number 3, is to fix those problem areas that that fix those problem areas associated with the habits that you allowed. So I needed to go and get that organizer thing, because then no longer did I was swimming in my pantry when I opened it. Like, these plastic bags were everywhere. I would just shove them everywhere. And then in bins, I was organizing the plastic bags in bins. And it's just like when that holder in the garage got full, I knew it was time to take a special trip and go and take them to the place that recycles these plastic bags. I know you can get reusable shopping bags. I know, but I always forget them in my car. And so that doesn't really work for me. I've gotten a little bit better, but really so number 1, how I learned to declutter my house without the overwhelm. Number 1, became aware of things or areas that really bothered me. Just look around. Take a few seconds, sit in silence in your house by yourself, and look around those areas that are stressing you out. Number 2, I noticed my habits and the thinking behind why I did the things that I did. Only you will be able to understand this. So take a deep dive inside of yourself and ask yourself why you do the things that you do. And then number 3, I fixed those problem areas so that they were no longer a problem. And I put parameters around things. And so that is 3 simple tips on how I learned to declutter my house without feeling overwhelmed. And then I just stacked it on from there. So if you're thinking about wanting to declutter or slow living, I do have a really fun 30-day slow living challenge. It's absolutely free. I will link it down below in the description box, and you can check it out. And before you go, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.